I had my street hockey stick because I wanted to talk about something that has kind of been plaguing me for ever since I started watching hockey for the past few years. The ref's inconsistent calling of a cross check. So a cross check is when you have your hands like this on your stick. And whether you're in the corner, whether you're in front of the guy, anything, you can that. Or this, that. This, that kind of thing, right? You have your hands on your stick and you slam it into the guy. So, over the last few years, I've noticed that they've either been calling it the first cross check or like the fifth or sixth cross check. And sometimes it's inconsistent too. Sometimes they will either call it as the first one. So like if you go into the corner, and you cross check, they might blow the whistle then. I saw one game, the argument was when they threw a cross check in front of the net and they called it instantly, they called it because it was in front of the net, that it would impede on a scoring opportunity, and that's why they blew it. Well, I've seen plenty of games since then where they've multiple cross checks in front of the net, and the inconsistency is there. Remember when Zdeno Chara did it to, I believe it was Brendan Gallagher last year in a Canadiens-Bruins game? There's so much inconsistency with how they call a cross-check. So it could be in the numbers, it could be up here in the throat, in the teeth, in the face. They call cross-checks pretty much whenever they feel like they need to call it. So if it's pretty much up to their own doing. If you see a cross-check in front of the net and they deemed that it was vicious or not, they might blow the whistle then. But with the inconsistency on how they blow a cross-check, or how they call a cross-check rather, I've always had this statement, either it is or it isn't, right? Because when you have a player in front of the net who's cross-checking someone, like let's say Anton Roussel and Connor McDavid this year. They are in front of the net. Anton Roussel is just feeding McDavid cross-checks. They will probably call it then. But remember, the inconsistency. They may or may not call it. And that's kind of the main issue that we have here, right? I stand by the fact. It either is or it isn't, right? Because if you're gonna wait until it's the 5th, 6th, 7th cross-check, and the hockey guy has me basically this year counting the cross-checks. So whenever I see teams battle in the corner, I sit there and I count. 1, 2, 3, 4, stop. Alright? But it also leads me to my next point. If they're so inconsistent with calling this, then why do they call a hook or a slash every single time? And you will probably say, well, it's against the rules. Yes, but so is cross-checking. You see where I'm getting at, right? It's not just me. A lot of other people think this as well. So, cross-checking is always so niche. Because they'll either call it the 5th or 6th, or they'll call it the first time. With hook or slash, it's kind of up in the air, right? If you do that, that's a penalty. Every single time. But the question is why? If Connor McDavid's going on a breakaway, and you poke his hand with your stick, that's a penalty. But you can cross-check him, and it's fine. Never mind that the cross-check could deal more damage than the poke. Same with a hook. And tripping. These are all things they call the first time round. 90% of the time they call it the first time round. Tripping is a little bit questionable, but usually they're pretty good at calling it. Cross-checking? Not really. And that's kind of the theme I noticed. So, it brings me back to my point. It either is, or it isn't. And I've known the hockey guy makes a video about it, but I just wanted to do my take on it. And to me, if I had to say if and when, I say it's a penalty. Call it. If someone is cross-checking someone, because then you get into the gray area, right? I don't want to see the game change, but if, say, some players get in front and then you're doing that with your stick and they call it, you would say that that's battling for the puck. Some would call that cross-checking. But the problem is, if you say it isn't, then you removed the incidences, like with Zdeno Chara, where you right in the guy's throat. So, I think it is a penalty. And I think they should start calling it as it is. Because when you get into the gray areas, when you start getting into the fact that you're not really calling it as is, then you get into some messed up situations. Again, I think it's a penalty every single time. You have your stick like this and you're cross-checking someone with the intent to either hurt them or whatever. So, the question is, where do you stand on all this? Let me know in the comment section. I know this is probably like some sort of not very popular video to discuss, because a lot of people that I know of, they don't want to see the game soften up at all. They want to see fights. They enjoy the quick little cross-checks and the jabs and all that. Just battling for the puck, battling for position. And I don't have a problem with it either. Really, in all honesty, I don't. But the problem is that they set themselves up. Because they added it into the rule book, and because the refs don't call it unless they want to, this is why a lot of people don't like NHL referees. And this is why when people say, well, the referees are people too. And I agree with that. Right? Because they're human, they make mistakes. But the problem is that they make mistakes off of their own sort of thinking. I've always stood by this. The refs could look up at the big screen, be like, we were wrong with that. That wasn't a high stick. That was a friendly fire. No penalty. Remember this year? Between Carolina and Columbus? Where Columbus challenged for offsides. And it wasn't offsides. Or it was. But they said it wasn't. So the goal counted. Columbus goes shorthanded. They drop the puck. But some point later, what ends up happening, they take away the penalty because it didn't necessarily need to be a penalty, right? So, my question is this. Do we remove some of the rules so the NHL referees have a certain level of easier time with calling games? If I had to say any one penalty is not my favorite, it's the slash. Because to me, a slash is two-handed on your stick and you just whack somebody with it. When you're trying to reach for the puck and someone is slightly faster than you and you get them in the hand, that is a slash. Except it isn't. Because you're reaching for the puck, right? So, yeah. I'm going to set this aside. So, referees, I think, need an easier time with calling a game. And I think the easiest way you can do that is by changing away some of the rules. Making some rules black and white because they are black and white. Cross-checking to me is black and white. Tripping is black and white. These things are black and white. High sticking, black and white. Slashing has a gray area. Cross-checking does not. So you can't not call a cross-check because you think that it has something else to do. So, yeah. That's where I currently stand on the situation. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. There's some games on tonight. I'm probably going to watch one or two of them. See how I feel, see where things at. I'm definitely watching the Caps game. So, thank you everybody so much for watching and listening to me babble my opinion for about 10 minutes. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Talk to you soon.